Let's talk now to Haras Rafiq, who is the Chief Executive of Quilliam, which is the counter-extremism organisation. Haras, good morning to you.
Good morning.
If I could ask you, first of all, the Prime Minister said there needs to be some difficult conversations about because she says there's too much tolerance of extremism in this country. Richard Kemp construed that to mean the leaders of certain mosques where he suspects young men, presumably majority young men and maybe young women, are being radicalised. Is he right?
I think, first of all, I think it shouldn't be a difficult conversation. Why should national security be a difficult conversation? The point that Theresa May made and Richard Kemp made there's a lot of truth in them in so much that it's not just mosques, but there are institutions, organisations that are part of the problem. They're living in denial. They are they come from the very Islamist ideology that the counter-extremism strategy and the prevent strategy is trying to challenge. And we have to stop defending those kind of people. We have to stop sheltering them. We have politicians that have been sheltering them. For example, I live in Manchester, and after the Manchester attack recently, it became more and more apparent, even though we in the counter-extremism field have known for years, the mosque that the individual a week and a half ago used to frequent is a mosque that has hate preachers regularly coming to its venue, and yet we and politicians and a number of police agencies in the region have sought to defend it. Andy Burnham, the mayor of Manchester, declared a fatwa. He declared that the person, in fact, he did the very same thing that ISIS do to Muslims like myself. He declared that the person who carried out the attack is not a Muslim. The reality is, the sharp and harsh reality is that there is an Islamist ideology that is influencing Salafi jihadism around the world, and there are people in the UK and around the world that are still living in denial, and we need to challenge this ideology, all of us. You know, you didn't have to be black to challenge apartheid. The people who weren't black challenged apartheid as well. This is the biggest threat that faces us right now in the UK and in the Western world in terms of people dying. It needs to stop, and we need to challenge it.
We talk, don't we, Haras, about the madmen who were operating last night as a death cult, a suicide cult, and we talk about how they're extremists and they're in a minority. But that we've seen figures that the police think there could be potentially 3,000 jihadis in Britain, or even more than that. What would be your best estimate?
I think that the only estimate really we should use is the official estimate that the police are using, and that's 3,000.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to monitor. It takes on average 20 to 25 people to monitor one person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's possibly one of the reasons why Richard Kemp has suggested what he's suggesting.
Internment.
Internment.
Do you agree with that?
No, not at all. I don't think it's the right way forward. I think we have powers already. We have TPIMs. We've had control orders in the past. They're not being used. What we're suffering from is the lack of political consistency. We're suffering from a lack of different government departments and agencies working effectively together. For example, Quilliam, we've been calling for somebody for years now, for about 6 or 7 years, to actually sit underneath the Prime Minister, somebody who has the expertise and the power and the clout to coordinate all of the activities across the different government departments. That's not happening right now. We've also got politicians, these are senior politicians who are actually screaming from the rafters that the only counter-terrorism strategy that we have, contest, and the key elements of it, prevent, should be scrapped. It shouldn't be scrapped. Of course it needs reform, of course it needs continuous change, but these are people who are naive and not understanding the problem that we have. And I think that these people are in for a sharp... we've had what we've had over the last sort of 2.5 months, and yet they're still not understanding and realising that the problem is this ideology.
OK, that's Haras Rafiq. He's from Quilliam. He's the Chief Executive of Quilliam, which is the counter-extremism organisation. Breaking news.